My name doesn't matter. My scars do. Because they tell a story, not of defeat, but of survival. I was married to a man for 8 years. In those 8 years, I gave everything: my youth, my body, my time, my soul. I gave him children, loyalty, patience, support, even when I had nothing left for myself. We had 4 children together. 4 beautiful children. Each one came with their own story, their own light. And despite all the hardships, they made me smile through the tears. My husband, the man I believed loved me, told me he wanted more children. He said we were building a legacy. He said our home needed one more soul. I was already on family planning. My hands were full. My body was tired, but I agreed, because I thought I was honoring our love. I stopped everything, and after 3 months, I became pregnant again. That's when everything started falling apart. Almost overnight, he became cold. He stopped coming home early. He stopped looking at me. He stopped speaking with kindness. And then the beatings started. The first time, I thought it was stress. Maybe pressure from work, a bad day, maybe I said something wrong. I convinced myself it was a mistake. But it wasn't. It happened again, and again, with increasing force, with increasing cruelty. One night, he beat me so badly, my body gave out. My siblings, God bless them, lived nearby. They rushed in, trying to protect me. They tried to calm him down. But he beat them too. He beat my younger brother until he bled. He pushed my sister so hard she hit her head against the wall. I couldn't protect anyone. Not myself, not them, not even the baby inside me. The next morning, with what little strength I had, I packed a small bag. I gathered my 4 children. And I left. I didn't take much, just clothes and hope. Hope that I was doing the right thing. Hope that my children would understand one day. Hope that somehow, life would be better than what I left behind. We went to my mother's house in another town. When she saw me, she gasped. My face was swollen. My legs couldn't hold my weight. My body, broken. And I was bleeding. She didn't ask many questions. She just held me and cried. They rushed me to the hospital. The doctors looked concerned. They ran tests. They said the words I feared most. I'm sorry, but you've lost the pregnancy. I didn't react. I couldn't. I was numb. I stayed there for 2 days, alone in a white hospital room, staring at the ceiling, wondering how love could become pain, how protection turned to punishment, how promises could rot into betrayal. He never called. Not once. He was informed. He knew what had happened. He knew I had lost the baby. Still, not even a message. When I returned from the hospital, I told my parents I wanted to go to his village, to speak with his parents, to appeal to the elders. I still hoped, somehow, they would help. But when I arrived, I walked straight into shame. He had already told them his version of events. He said I brought my siblings to beat him, that I planned an abortion, that I was turning the children against him, that I was becoming disrespectful and rebellious. They didn't even ask me to sit. They didn't want to hear my truth. They hurled insults. They told me I had disgraced their son. They called me a curse, a failed wife, a liar. I stood there, in front of them, shaking, bleeding internally in more ways than one. No one offered a glass of water. No one asked if I was okay. They threw me out like trash. And I walked away in tears. Back to my parents. Back to nothing. Back to starting all over again. That day, I asked for a divorce. I said I couldn't go on. but he refused. You see, it wasn't about love. It was about control. He wanted me gone from the house, but not free from his grip. Later, I found out why he did all of this. He had another woman, younger, beautiful. The one he told his friends was sexier, more exciting, more fun. He wanted to replace me like an old piece of furniture. So he made my life unbearable until I walked away myself. Eventually, after my family stood by me and pushed him legally, he signed the divorce papers. I cried that day, not because I missed him, but because I was finally free. I promised myself I would never go through that again. I stopped dreaming of marriage. I started dreaming of stability, peace, healing, safety. I focused all my energy on my children, on raising them with values, with love, with the security they never had under that roof. The man who called himself their father, he disappeared. No visits, no calls, no birthdays, no help. He moved on with his new family. And for a while, I struggled. Emotionally, financially, spiritually. But I didn't let that stop me. I started teaching. And from teaching, I built a dream. I started my own school. It was small, humble, but it was mine. I spent sleepless nights building that school. There were days I cried over payroll. Days I worked to save transport money. Days I went hungry so my kids wouldn't. I kept going. And then, I took a risk, a big one. I took a massive loan and opened a branch of my school in Lagos. I didn't know what would happen. But I believed in myself. It worked. People noticed. Parents brought their children. The school grew. The income grew. My confidence grew. One day, at a school conference, I ran into one of my ex-husband's friends. He was shocked. He said, "Wait, you're the owner of that school. My kids go there." Then he looked at me and said, "I have to be honest with you. Your husband, he told us back then that you were getting old. He said you lost your charm. That he needed a fresh start. That you were holding him back." I smiled, not because it was funny, but because I finally understood. It was never about me. It was about him, his immaturity, his insecurity, his selfishness. Then one day, he came to see me. Yes, the man who abandoned me, who beat me, who left his children. He came back. When he heard about how successful I'd become, he came to see for himself. When he saw me, he was speechless. He stammered. He begged. He said, "Let's try again. I've changed. We can make it work." I laughed, not out of cruelty, but because I had healed far beyond him. I told him, "You're 15 years too late. You didn't come for me. You came for the money. But this peace, this success, this strength, it's not for you. I built it with God, with pain, and with fire." I told him to leave, to never step foot on my school premises again, or I'd call the police. And that was the last time I saw him. That was 2 years ago. I no longer cry for what I lost, because I didn't lose. I was saved. To every woman reading this, you don't need to stay in pain to prove your worth. You don't need to shrink for someone else to shine. You don't need to beg someone to love you. I turned my tears into testimony, my pain into purpose, my scars into symbols of survival. I'm not just better, I'm whole, and I'm better off without him. If it were to be you, would you rather accept him or be like her? I want your opinions.